Hey guys, welcome to another Monday Mindset Mojo. It's great to be here with you guys today. I've got a great panel of speakers today. They're going to be talking about the power of community. What is it with cognition and community? What is it about community that helps us create healthier thoughts, create healthier goals, obtainable goals? And do we need support, or is the whole solopreneur path really a solo act, or are there lots of people in the background that are needed to help you support? And we have some wonderful guests here today. Joshua, my friend Joshua Altman, Conrad, More Life Wizard, Dr. Corey Christensen, and Aja. And I'm not sure that Cayenne is going to be able to make it. I heard from Cayenne last night, but I've not heard from them this morning, so hopefully they can make it. But it's great to see you guys here today. I'm going to be getting Aja on the panel because he's not on there just yet. I wasn't sure he could make it, but it's good that you're here, my friend. Thank you so much. And while we're going around the room, I'll be fiddle faddling with a few things. But let me start out with Dr. Corey. Tell us about your background and what you think about the topic for today, Corey.
Yeah, thank you for having me here. So I'm, like you said, Dr. Corey Christensen. I'm from Idaho here in the U.S., and I have been a doctor of physical therapy for over 12 years, working in orthopedics and sports medicine physical therapy, and that has been a huge passion of mine. But during my journey, I've realized that there's a lot more that goes on with somebody's story about who they are when it comes to a physical nature. If they have an injury of a shoulder or back, that there's often associated a story that they have telling themselves about that situation that we actually really need to address. And so that's what's brought me here to X, is to help people understand that there is a lot to unpack when it comes to your personal self story and how it affects your life. And I think this is a great topic to talk about, how community really does affect your cognition and how it plays a bigger role than most people would think. And so I'm excited to be here. I think this is going to be a power packed conversation. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, thank you, Dr. C. Thank you. And my good friend Conrad, how's the weather in Scotland, Conrad?
No, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Very Scottish, but beautiful at the same time. There is a beauty in that, indeed.
Well, what do you think about this, our topic for today on community and the importance of community in this world of hyperconnectivity, where it seems like people are more connected but less engaged, or maybe more engaged but less connected, however you want to look at it?
Yeah. I love the topic personally. This is exactly what I speak to people very often on my calls. Is this notion of, let's say, being very selective and careful when it comes to choosing our social circle. There's the family part to it, obviously. And this is the part that tends to, travel with us along, when we go from, one chapter of our life to another. However, when it comes to the rest of our social circle, this is where we have full choice, right? Friends are the family we can choose. Therefore, also that applies to things like, environments at work, neighborhoods, and so on and so forth. And here again, we have full choice because we can manifest any outcome we want. And indeed, experience shows and psychology shows that the people that we surround ourselves with truly help us shape our character and the outcomes in our daily lives. Therefore, when we have a look at ourselves and the people that we surround ourselves with, which is very interesting, we very often find that, for example, females that surround ourselves are a certain reflection of how we evolved our feminine energy, let's call it. Those female characters, they are representing a certain female aspects of our own psyche. And the same goes for the male characters in our life. Those male characters will represent a certain male aspects of our psyche. So that reflection mirror that we call the universe can be super helpful when it comes to character development, business development, and upgrading our life on a whole new level. So the mindset is very much connected with the environment because one is a reflection of the other. And if we play that game well, we can super quickly upgrade our life from where we are now to where we want to be.
Absolutely. I've heard this solopreneur thing for a long time, and I think that there's a
Mm.
lot of very isolated people on social media, and I'd like to kind of pick that apart today. And I really appreciate you guys being in the chat. Money Quotes is giving a shout out to Dr. Corey. Great to have you here, my friend, Money Quotes, and my friend Sherry Slatoski. Sherry, it's good to see you in the house today. Thanks for being here. You guys take part in the conversation by just dropping a quote, dropping a question in the chat. The Rogue, good to see you here, my friend. Wonderful to see you. And let me see who else we have on tap for today. Oh yeah, your son is here, a great graphic artist and an AI expert. Your son, good to see you here. And I saw, Richard is here. Good to see you here, Richard. And watching the countdown. Yeah, I need to get some music with that countdown because I have people saying, "Hey, I can't hear anything." Well, that's because there was music last week, but that was Memorial Day. I had some special Memorial Day music. but I need to get some, I don't know, a theme song or something like that. But thank you guys. Share out the live stream in your timeline on X, where we're live streaming currently in my feed. Share it out to Facebook. We're also on Facebook on my account. Also, LinkedIn, and as well as YouTube, and streaming into my Mindset Masterclass. Welcome all you guys to join my Mindset Masterclass that are watching today or listening in. And all you have to do is go to school.com/mindset. That is school, SKOOL.com/mindset. Joshua, tell the folks a bit about you. Man, look at that cool hat, man. I need a hat like that. Some guys can pull off a hat. I'm not sure if I can pull off a hat like that, but you look very distinguished, sir, my friend. So let folks know about you and your initial thoughts on this thing with cognition and community. What do you think?
Well, I think you just needed some friends in your life, Doc, to tell you that it's okay to wear hats like this, and you would have gone along with it. Isn't that the whole point of this
You know, the
conversation?
funny thing is, I kid you not, I don't think I've ever said this live on air. When I was a teenager, you would never catch me without my cowboy hat. I had a cowboy hat everywhere I went, except for school. I couldn't wear it in school. It had a big bunch of feathers on the front of it. It was pretty styling back in the day, you know, big country music fan and all. And then I kind of segued to a baseball cap, and then I had a cap a baseball cap I'd wear backwards. But my head has been naked for many decades now. I run around with a naked head with naught but my hair covering it. But I may need to revisit the whole cap thing. I'll have to say I've got to get my wife's approval. She is my wardrobe specialist. You guys wouldn't imagine how many things she vetoes, and it's probably a good thing. It's probably a good thing, you know. But good to see you. Share your thoughts with us on our topic for today.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Joshua Altman, you can find me on X primarily. I am a blue-collar disciple of Christ. I'm one of those folks just trying to find their way through the path of Christ himself as a pathway, as an example that I follow to live my life. And that affects a lot of my decision making. And yeah, that type of journey, as will many other types, such as academic and so on, typically tend to be influenced. Well, they have to be influenced by other people and other environments around us along the way. Certainly has been the case for me. I'm looking forward to sharing some of my own thoughts and experiences along the way and my perspectives that I've seen from my side of the bench, you might say. But yeah, this is going to be some really good stuff. There's no debate that our friends that we choose we even not just friends, even the type of people we work around, the type of people we have our beefs with, our enemies, things like that. You know, that which we interact with, well, it can't help but imprint upon us, whether we like it or not. That happens. That's just life, you know. So I'm looking forward to seeing what everybody thinks about how that works and ways that we can hopefully utilize that for our own betterment. That's where I'm trying to get to these days, is understanding that everything around me has the potential to affect me, my heart, my mind, my soul. And in the process of that, learning how to, well, part of maturing, learning how to, I guess, not so much take control, but learning how to, in maturity, wisely allow in what I need to help better me, and wisely identify and put up boundaries to that which could keep me from growing in a good way.
Yeah, and you know, some of you know what I'm talking about that you're listening in. There are communities, there are spaces. For those of you not familiar with X, X has a thing called Spaces. It's an audio only platform, but then they also have live streaming through the X platform. So when we say spaces, we're talking about an audio only thing. They're really big. There's spaces that are anywhere from a few people to a few dozen, a few hundred, and there's some that are a few thousand. And I think it's a wonderful, wonderful thing. The problem gets to be that people don't realize that every time you're presented with some information from your environment, and I'll define information in a moment. Whenever you're presented with information from your environment, your brain can't do nothing with it. Every time you're presented with information, your brain has to decide where to file it. It's kind of like you get all kinds of mail in the mailbox. It's not all junk mail, but some of it is. It would be a mistake to throw away your envelope with your paycheck and keep the junk mail. It'd be a mistake to toss away your paycheck or your retirement check and take your junk mail to the bank and try to deposit it into your bank account, right? You should try. Some of you guys, you're jokers. You're going to try to do this. You're going to take a piece of junk mail and say, "Hey, I'd like to deposit this into my checking account today," and they'll call the guys, the little white coats, to come and escort you to a rubber room or something. But we do that with our brains. We'll have something that has a lot of value from, yes, there are valuable things, of course, on social media, but there's a lot of junk on social media. But we'll toss out or disregard the healthy information, and we'll try to deposit the junk mail into our brain. So if you get nothing else out of this live stream today, realize that your brain is a type of a mailbox. And whatever community you put yourself in, that community is sending out mail to you. It could be a great something you can invest in your life, or it may be junk mail. The community cannot decide that for you. You have to decide that for yourself. Is this a valuable piece of mail from this community, or is this just junk mail? And social media is full of junk mail. And the more that you listen to it, your brain begins to, familiarity in the brain often equals safety, right? So just because it's familiar, though, doesn't mean it's safe for your mindset. You have to know the difference. And there's political spaces, yeah, that's great. I'm a big free speech, free will guy. But if that's all you listen to, then you can fill your brain with junk mail and junk food. Without further ado, I want to go to a brand new guest today. This is Dr. Corey's first time on this live stream. Joshua Conrad, they're OGs. They've been here quite a few times. But Aja's first appearance here. Aja, thank you so much for being here. I'm going to go over here and get your camera set up, by the way, and get you on screen. Give me just a moment. There's Aja. So share with us your background, Aja. What do you do on X, and what do you think about the conversation so far?
Okay, thank you very much, Doctor, for having me on your live space today. Um, yeah, it's really an amazing one, hearing from wonderful speakers today. About the topic, I'm really intrigued because one of the things that have really limited a lot of people is having an environment where their mind can be able to factor everything about themselves, about all that uh, encompass around them. Uh, for me personally, I grew up in an environment where I was taught a lot, and that have really helped me, working on my mind. And growing up, it wasn't that difficult to factor myself in, relating and then conversating with the environment at the same time, which is very, very difficult for some people that we now see. Personally, I'm more, interactive on X, and I get to see a lot of people, from different backgrounds, different ethnic group, and through the conversations we have, I've come to realize that not all of them understand what it means to have a mind that can be able to give you the result you need. And a couple times when you speak about the mind, it becomes something very, very unrelatable. Why? Because they have not yet worked on what can make them, become champions in what they do. And talking about this with them, have really given me an opportunity to see how we can not grow alone like that in one particular aspect, but you also grow in the aspects by which you are gifted in. So if you are gifted in, let's say drawing, for instance, now, how then do you factor yourself in making that productive when you are not the only one expressing this alone, but you are bringing other people to also experience how they can be able to draw, and not just draw alone, but also get resources from that as well. So I'm really excited to be here, to share more thoughts and also to share more perspective on the topic, growing yourself in the environment that is relatable to what you do and then connecting it to with everything around you. So thank you very much. And
Oh,
really I'm on.
oh, thank you, thank you. I really appreciate that. I want to go back to some of your thoughts on this because Aja, I'd like to hear about the community that you head up. Number one, you can tell us about your community and why you think that communities are important. I head up a community on X called the Exposium. You can think of a symposium for X, get it, Exposium. But it sounded clever in the day, I don't know. But you guys go over on X and check it out. We're there trying to make spaces better places. And the reason we did that is because I was seeing so much negativity on these group discussions on X. And I thought, wouldn't it be cool to have a symposium, an exposium, where people could come and we're really, instead of just criticizing people and putting people down, and instead of the quote, good old boys club, that we could really help some smaller accounts. We can help people who haven't spoken live in public, people that have problems with self esteem, problems with self concept, and we can hand them the mic and say, your voice, your perspective, your opinion is important. And so we try to keep it healthy, we try to keep it positive, we try to keep it supportive when there's so many other things out there. But that's just my take on. I keep on hitting my computer here, the camera bebops around. I'm not driving down the road. I'm not on a dirt road full of potholes. Everything will be okay. Yeah, don't drive and do spaces, by the way. It's very, very dangerous. And if you have a wreck while you're on social media, by the way, the police will confiscate your phone and that will be presented as evidence in your trial. So be careful about using your phone on social media while you're driving. Public service announcement just for you guys today. But the thing about spaces and communities are they are just by design healthy places to be. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't go to those things because some of them, although they're not healthy, it doesn't mean just because they have some unhealthy things in them doesn't make them bad. Honey buns, one of my favorite food groups are honey buns, and they have some unhealthy ingredients in them, but it doesn't make them bad. It just means that you need to realize what you're consuming. And I love what Rogue said. Hey, we got somebody here with some psychology background, it looks like. Rogue, you're absolutely right. In psychology, we talk about the biopsychosocial model, and it calls for us to pay attention to our biology. What are you feeding your body? Psycho, what you're feeding your brain. And then social is another bucket on the buffet of life, and you have to be careful what you're feeding yourself from that buffet of life. But what kind of buffet do you provide to people, Aja? Tell us about your community a little bit.
All right. The community I belong to, which is on X, has to do, with creating an aspect where little creators are able to come and express themselves, and not just express themselves alone, but also to grow from there. Like Doctor said earlier, having a lot of people who, you know, come on these social media platforms and get criticized because they don't belong into the particular code of everyone. Like for instance, now I'm good at writing, and then peradventure I come to a space where there are no writers there. So how then can I be able to figure myself into the status quo of those writers that are not on the space? So, trying to bring that into perspective now brings us into having a community where little creators can be able to find themselves and they express themselves in a perfect way that it gives them an environment to be heard, not just heard alone, but also to showcase what they are good at and be creative at what they are good at. And this is one thing that I've really, we have seen in several social media platforms. I've engaged with Facebook before, I've engaged, on X here right now and a couple of other places. Although I've not explored Instagram that much, but looking at X, you discover there are a lot of people who are very, very critical about what other people's opinions are. So now, how do you now bring others, to this limelight of experience that they don't just feel left out of what's happening in the general scope of this social media platform? That is what my community is about. Bringing little creators and expressing themselves in what they are good at. Someone who is good at video making, how then do you know that this person can be able to express themselves freely without feeling neglected, without feeling criticized, and without feeling not heard? So making them be heard, making them being seen, making them be supported, and then also allowing them to have a platform that generalize, about themselves, is what my community is about. Presenting all of this and then not making them feel shy away from what the general scope of social media is about. And believe me, the social media we have in our time, we have seen have been toxic. Like somebody drop a content, and then before you know, other people are criticizing without knowing the intention. So when you read people, when you know their background, when you are to understand them, not just by what they are saying alone, but being in depth of knowing what they can be able to offer, to the general blueprint of the perspective by which we have as a social media platform now. It gives them this opportunity to express themselves freely, without being neglected. So yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you, thank you. How do you? And I will go to the other guys too, but you're in different communities on X and on other social media platforms. And I want to thank Aja supporters. Thaniel, good to see you here today. AJ agrees. Yes, Aja, he says. And Thaniel, of course, is saying, uh, "Preach it, my brother." And amen from the amen section of the auditorium. Thanks, Thaniel, for being here. And of course, you, AJ, too. But good to have supporters here. And I want to thank nearly 300 of you also for being here. We are live streaming through X, and we have a little over 200 from X, and we have another 100 or some odd, I think, from Facebook, YouTube, Mindset Masterclass, and LinkedIn. And here are some other supporters here. Goldman, good to see you here, my friend. And Rookie is here supporting Aja. I know I get those overlaid. They have a preset place that they go. And also Edigram saying, hello, Aja. Thank you, Edigram, for being here. Guys, we're going to be here for about the next 56 minutes. And so if you're listening, please join the conversation. It's always more educational, not just for other community members, but for us, if you weigh in and share your thoughts with us. And yes, thank you, Goldman. But guys, what are some problems that you see pop up in different communities? Aja mentioned a few of those, but I like to kind of work my way here backwards and go to Joshua Conrad, then Dr. Corey C. What are some problems that you see in communities, and any thoughts on how to address some of that stuff? What do you think, Joshua?
Well, one of the ones that I think becomes one of my biggest pet peeves. I tend to be a bit. I can stubbornly hold higher authorities to higher account. Um, I've held positions of power and authority before over groups of people, and I take it very seriously. And like anybody, I'm only human, and I've certainly had my failures with such responsibilities. As I've grown, I've found only an increasing respect for that position within a group or a community. Um, One of the things that I absolutely find so sad within any community is when the people who are considered to be the natural or chosen leadership of a community tend to, whether by purpose or just natural human nature, drift towards the clickiness thing where they start to separate a bit of themselves and the access to themselves and their perspectives from the people at the ground level in the community that they're supposed to be responsible for either helping to guide or lead, or people that, there's always going to be someone that's not the leader in a group or a community who's looking to the natural leader or chosen leader to help them along whatever path it is they're on or choices they're trying to make. We all, whether we mean to or not, look to be influenced at some level by others and other things around us. So I do find it, gosh, I'm going to ramble and go off to where I don't even mean to, but I do find it unfortunate when I see natural, gosh, for lack of a better word, segregation amongst the group. And I don't mean that, of course, in any racial way. I mean the natural just separating of people within a group structure. It's a human thing that I see happen all the time. And I don't know that necessarily means like, oh, if you see it happen, that's the end of the world. It's just that usually is where communication amongst the group will start to have its first rifts, is when people start to do a lot more communication in smaller groups within a group. Now, not that there's not a place for that, especially for people in leadership. There's a time and place for separation, to think about decisions and so on and so on, and private consultation, of course. But at some point, there needs to be a dissemination of information or influence amongst the whole group, because ultimately disseminating information is influence, whether we mean that to be or not. That's what it is. And I take that very seriously. I think others should take it seriously. And I think a lot of groups forget how powerful and important just basic communication across the board, top to bottom, bottom to top, is, and how important it is to have that accessible to everyone in the group at some point along the way. Just a few quick thoughts from me on that one.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And Conrad, what do you think? What's your take on some of the maybe downside of community and how we can, if for the community leaders out there, there are a lot of people watching that they're on communities on X. Another big thing on the X platform are communities. Some communities are small, may have a dozen people or so. They have a very targeted focus. There are communities on X. I don't know if you guys know this, but there are communities on X that have 50, 60,000 people that are members of it. One of these, and I won't even call the name of it, but someone sent it to me because they know I'm really community centric, community focused, and I'm a member of a bunch of different communities and try to be a part of healthy communities. Sometimes I'll click the button to join. I'll think, oh, well, gosh, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't have joined that one. But I won't say the name of this community, but really the whole community. You guys may be shocked. I've talked about this before. We had a whole space on it with a friend of mine, Eileen, who's a community noter. She was one of the OGs, folks that would rate notes, rate posts as to their accuracy. And I asked her about it, but it is every post is about people beating other people up. I kid you not. It's just a community with a bunch of videos, mainly about women beating up other women. And I'm talking about just crazy, crazy stuff. So as a free will guy, I'm thinking, wow, does, should this really be on there? But the downside of free speech is you see naughty things and things that people shouldn't be doing, but you can't really limit that. And this was Eileen's take on it, and I agree with her, that who gets to be the monitors of the monitors? You know, if you're the one monitoring and saying this community can't exist, then who's going to monitor your monitoring? And Twitter got into problems with this. If you guys want to watch a great documentary, it's called Breaking the Bird. I think it should have been called Flipping the Bird, but I don't know why they didn't choose that. But Breaking the Bird. 2 on Edge for CNN, you know. CNN put up this documentary, Breaking the Bird. And the whole thing was about back when Twitter started booting people off the platform because they were saying things that they didn't think they should say. And I thought, well, at first glance, you think, okay, well, that makes sense. You know, somebody said something that is patently untrue, or they could be sued for it. Yeah, maybe. But see, the problem got to be, it became like the social media Gestapo. You got people coming in booting the president off of the social media platform in the country where he's the president. And I don't like a lot of things that people say, but I try to train my mindset that I just don't go to those places. You know, if I don't like what you're saying, I'm not going to join your community. And so there's a really fine line, I think, between freedom of speech as a community leader, and Aja talked about this in his community, trying to, you know, keep it healthy and keep it supportive. And let me tell you, that's a challenge. I do a space 6 days a week, 6 spaces a week. I think to this date I do more spaces. If you find somebody that does more, you let me know. I'm highly competitive. I do more spaces than anyone on X. I don't have the biggest crowds, but I do more spaces, and I do six. Yes, six. No, I do seven spaces a week. Seven. I do a space on Monday through Saturday, and then on Friday I do 2 spaces, and one is just for my subscribers on X. Then I do 2 live streams on X. So I'm doing 9 broadcasts a week on X. And it's really hard when you're the moderator. What do you do when someone comes on and they start saying naughty things to other people? Well, I'll tell you what I do. I try not to take opportunity away from other people. If Josh is on there, I believe in Josh. He's a friend of mine. I don't think that Josh needs me defending him. I'll let him take care of it. But someone else, I might jump in and say, whoa, wait. We're not here for that. But I try to look at the person. And then the other thing is I do look at the content of what they're saying. So if I'm having a space on some psychology concept and somebody comes in talking about cabbages or whatever, we're not the cabbage farmer space, so we're probably not going to spend a lot of time talking about that. It's not unhealthy, it's just off topic. So it's a really hard thing to lead a community, and I'd like to hear from some of you community leaders in our live stream today. What are your thoughts on that? I like what Kim said. Kim, a wonderful member of the Mindset Masterclass. Josh, I agree with you. Inclusion in community is essential for being successful. And yeah, so very true. I say this quote a lot. I was reading a book since I did my clinical rotations through the VA. I was reading a book on the special forces, and we would have some of those guys every now and then. And this was a quote from the SAS Special Forces over in the UK. Said, "A man alone is a man already lost." And so one of the things I think is so healthy about community is when you find people in the community, and Kim is a great one because Kim is one of the most supportive people that I've ever seen in a community. I mean, she is just beautiful when it comes to all that stuff. Kim goes through lots of struggles and things, of course, and we talk about that in Mindset Masterclass. But Kim is so very supportive to people that what you're going to find in a community is not everyone is going to be that supportive. So really the community is a circle, but then there's going to be another concentric circle within that community, a group of people with whom you're going to connect. Dale Carnegie said it best that no one has more than maybe 2, 3, or 4 really great friends. Everybody else is acquaintances. And no, Facebook lovers, God bless you, but no, you don't have 5,000 friends. You have 5,000 people that click the button. That does not equal friend. That's great marketing, but it's poor psychology, okay? So even within a community, you need to invest. You need to invest. And I had a friend of mine who was teaching me about social media. Yes, once upon a time, I knew very little about social media. I still know very little about social media. I don't even know how to run my Facebook page. It's just, I click a button. It says someone put up a post about you, and I'll click the button and it goes nowhere. So Mark, Zuck, if you're listening, you need to dumb it down, buddy. Even those of us with a PhD, we don't understand it. There needs to be an easy button. It's why I like X. There's an easy button. But at any rate, so You need to develop a community within the community. And what my friend said is it's social media, so be social. One of the problems I see on social media and in communities is it's give me, give me, give me, give me, give me. What have you done for me lately? I got a better thought. Let's call it the Kim approach, the Kim Bro approach. My friend Kim over here. That instead of, well, I guess it's kind of a JFK thing too. Instead of first asking what your country can give you, ask what you can give your country. Instead of asking what can your community give you, well, goodness gracious, folks, what are you bringing to the community? So many people, this is from Stephen Covey, by the way, have a scarcity mindset that you can never get too many likes, and there's only so many to go around. You can never have enough support, and you've got to get support. And if Kim is supporting somebody else, how dare she support that person? And so pick some people out that need to receive support from you. Even if it's just one person a day, get on a social media community today, or if I guess you're on social since you're here, but if you spend more time in real life communities, go to the community center, go to your church, go to your club, and look around for somebody for you to serve. So many in our society today, it's just give me, give me, give me. I'm here to be served. Why am I not being served? Why are you not hearing my voice? Well, wait a minute. When's the last time you slowed down to hear somebody else's voice? Instead of, as a friend of mine, Hitch says, yappa, yappa, yappa. I think that's an Australia thing. Yappa, yappa, yappa. Talk, 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 talk. Why not take time and ask yourself in this room, who needs me to stop and listen to them? And one more story before we move around here to Conrad and Dr. Corey on their take on this. Is a young lady. She was actually the office secretary in the clinic where I worked, and she told me a story. I kind of wonder now if she was trying to make a point and teach me a thing or two. She said, there was a clinician that when you talked to him, you thought that you were the only person in the world. Everything else disappeared, and he was so focused on what you had to say that you thought that you were the center of his universe. When's the last time, folks, regardless of all your problems, because guess what? I've never met a person that didn't have problems. And I've met some really, really super rich people. Those people often have more problems than anybody. They just hide it better. I've met really, really poor people. They have problems. Some of them have fewer problems than the really, really rich people, by the way. Because that money can get in the way, and that fame and that popularity can get in the way. But everybody has problems. You got problems, I got problems, everybody's got problems. You're always going to think that your problems are more important than everybody else. But there comes a time when in a community, in order to really fuel the community from your side of that community equation, is you have to decide to stop taking and start giving. What can I give to Josh or Dr. Corey? And yes, hey, by the way, even doctors need communities, and even doctors do better if there's someone to listen to them. Just because they've got a DR dot before their name, or a DO dot, or MD dot, or PhD dot. There's a funny thing about that too. I'll tell you in a minute. Doesn't mean they got it all figured out. They still struggle. I still struggle. I got 2 PhDs in this stuff. I still struggle. And so, look, even people with lots and lots of money. I remember watching a video one time. There was a guy that was talking about the Christian faith. He said, I see churches go after people that are middle America, middle average income, and when they meet somebody and they find out they got a lot of money, they ignore them because they think that they don't need faith, they don't need salvation. He said, man, I think he said he was worth $100 million or something. He said, I needed faith, I needed salvation as much as anybody else. And I was so grateful when somebody finally stopped to witness to me. So if you're a Christian, you can give back by sharing your faith with people. If you've been through something, you can give back by listening to what someone else has gone through instead of always, hey, let me tell you what I've been through. Hey, wait, just I know you got problems, but wait a minute, let me share my problems with you. And there's no contest between problems. It's not a problem popularity contest. And so, Conrad, what do you think? Then we'll go to Dr. Corey. What are your thoughts so far on the conversation?
Well, I love the conversation. I love the topic. I think it's very interesting that these days, right, we can get into any room in the world. And I mean, there's going to be a room that we can get into. Okay, it might not be in your local community physically. However, thanks to the power of internet, you can find yourself a room on the internet to get into. And in that room, you can have people of your choice. Whether it's a community around faith, whether it's a community around wealth, around joy, around love, around relationships, something even more specific, you can find a community that is centered around that theme and topic. And just like that, instantly, you have access to a room full of people. And there, yes, of course, there comes discernment, assessment, whether this is the right room, the right people, yes. However, thanks to the power of internet, we have access to thousands, millions, potentially, of rooms all around the world. And here, we can really fine craft our social circle. We can really connect with people from all over the world, or just our country, or just our neighborhood. It nearly doesn't matter. But we have full choice and responsibility to craft our own social circle. Therefore, this is where, no more excuses that, locally I cannot find the people that I want or need, because you can find them online. At the very least. Very often you can actually find them locally too. If you really start looking for the right people, you will also very often find them very local to you as well. However, when it comes to communities, you can find nearly any room in the world available to you. This is how simple it is, right? No matter the topic, no matter the focus, you will find a community of that choice, of that kind. So there is no more excuses not to grow. There is no more excuses to live that, lesser life, because you can get support on anything you need or want to experience. It's just a matter of finding the right room with the right people. And on this occasion, I also agree with you, Dr. Heath, here, is that it's good to switch from being a go-getter to being a go-giver.
That's awesome.
Because giving is just a gift that keeps on giving, right? And this is where you truly grow exponentially. Because when you give, you get as well. It's like implied, so to speak. By giving, you also get and you grow. And if you switch to that mindset of being a go-giver, this is where you get so much more than, for example, being a go-getter when you look to get from various places. However, that can be a bit of an implosive energy, right? It's this me approach that is perhaps way better expressed as we. And when we switch from me to we, well, this is where the magic begins to happen. And yes, initially, it might be a bit of, let's say, a labor of love, right? Especially if we are used to focusing on getting, right, from other people, attention or otherwise. However, with just that flick of a switch, we can choose to consciously focus on giving to other people. And that can be anything. That can be our time, our wisdom, our experience, specific skills, and so on and so forth. And this is how we cast that social ripple. This is where we then get actually what we want and need, because those other people see that we are willing to give. So suddenly we also start getting, by proxy, by design, right? Also because those other people know what we need, what we can offer to other people, and they respond in kind. And this is the trick of a mind, that just focusing on getting can be quite implosive. However, when we focus on giving, this is where we actually start to get on that higher level. Because we seem to be of value, because we also find that strength within to actually give and give and give again. And in a way, it sort of surpasses, it transcends the need to actually just get. But ironically, the moment we start giving, we get in turn so much more. Over to you, Dr. Heath.
I love that. I love that. And I put that up there in the chat. And Kim says, Conrad, well said. Sherry Slatoska says, agreed. Hearts from Chrissy. Chrissy, thank you so much for being here. Monette, beautiful friend, part of the church spaces, church community on X. Josh was a part of that also. Great to see you here, of course, Monette, my dear friend. Rogue says, man, that's fire. Good morning from Sherry. And Kimbrough again says it's so simple. Giving is easy. There's no other way. You know, I think that giving can be easy, but I think that you have to acclimate to it. I think that people catastrophize giving because of the balance in people's brains of what, you know, I mentioned Stephen Covey earlier, the scarcity mindset versus the abundance mindset. We really believe there's only so much to go around, and we become, like a friend of mine said one time, a bunch of hogs at a trough, just trying to gobble up whatever's in front of us, when we realize that giving is what creates abundance. Giving creates abundance. And so back to the community thing briefly, I'm going to go to Dr. Corey since he's a doctor in physical therapy. My father-in-law, who many of you know, passed away a few days ago. And it was a big shock to the family. But a cool story about him is that he was in PT, physical therapy, with some OT, occupational therapy, 4 different times in the hospital. Now, here's a secret, and I know Corey, he could tell you more about this, about therapy in the hospital. You have to be able to benefit from it to get it. And so at the point which, based on your physical condition, you can no longer benefit, in other words, you can't show measurable progress, then your insurance is not going to pay for your therapy. It can't be just it's a good idea or whatever. And the amazing thing with my father-in-law is that the staff told us we don't think that he's going to get approval for physical therapy. He is in such poor condition, we don't think he can do it, which would have been bad for us, because then you're looking at maybe 24/7 home care, you're looking at skilled nursing care, long-term care facility, that kind of thing. But he had such a community around him that it was unbelievable what the physical therapy department was able to do with him. And he showed measurable progress and made gains so that he was given authorization to do physical therapy. So, Dr. Corey, tell us, I mean, maybe if you have a story, you know, about, you know, your time in physical therapy and the importance of community when it comes to people achieving sometimes what might seem like the impossible.
Absolutely, yeah. That's actually something that really hits close to home, because I see that happen so much in and day out. Even though I'm in an outpatient setting, having worked in the hospital, like that really tugs at my heartstrings, hearing about what somebody has to go through to be able to achieve it. And I'll tell you this, it is 100% comes down to the determination of the person that's going to receive the physical therapy and the people surrounding them. At one instance, this is actually when I first started off as a therapist. But my first year, I had this gentleman come to me who was in a wheelchair, and he had just basically, for whatever reasons in his previous years, had given up a little bit on life. Just felt like, life wasn't very good. He started suffering a lot of medical issues, and it became to the point where he was no longer able to physically walk. He says, I can't walk, I can't do it. I've lost strength, and I'm just completely bound to this chair. And he came to me, and one of the things I do as a PT, right, as I start to meet with this person individually, I set down my electronics, I set down my documentation system, and I sit there and I want to get to know that person, because there's so much more than what's going on than just, hey, I'm weak, or I've got a hurt shoulder, or I've got a hurt back. Like, my goal is to understand who I'm working with so I can understand what's meaningful and important to them. And so as I sat down and I talked to him, I was like, well, what's your goal? What is it that you want to happen here? Like, we got to get around this theme. Like, what's your purpose for this? And he looked at me with all sincerity in his heart. He said, like, I want to live again. I want to walk. I want to be able to be able to get out of my bed and not have my family members have to transfer me from my bed to my wheelchair. And he says, I have a newfound hope in life. And so this is what I want to do. And he says, but I've had doctors tell me it's not possible. I've had people say that you're not going to be able to do it because you've been in this chair for so long that it's just not going to happen. And he says, well, I want to prove them wrong. And I said, well, let's go then. If that's your mindset and that's where you want to go, I will take you there as far as I can. And it was the constant. I had his wife and his children in that room with me. And I looked at them and I said, you need to be actively involved in this process. And when he wants to try to do something, give him encouragement. And so that's the best thing that you can do right now, is encourage him to go and try and shoot for that impossible and push those limits. And it was incredible over the next 2 months what he was able to do. And within 2 months, we had him out of his wheelchair, walking around distance of his whole house, being able to just get in and out of his bed. And I remember the day that he actually got up out of his wheelchair by his own power, of me not being able to help him. And he took 4 steps, and then he sat down, and he just literally burst into tears. And he says, that's more I've done for myself than I've had in the last 5 years, and it was an incredible, just an empowering moment. And this is where all started kind of click for me, is like, there's so much more going on than just like a physical limitation. It's the story, it's the environment, it's everybody else involved, and I worked with him for another few weeks, and it was just incredible. And then he met his goals, he was doing well, and it comes to a point where we're like, okay, therapy we got to let you go. You've reached the goals, And it was about 2 months later, his wife came into the clinic and pulled me aside, and she said that he had passed away. He just had passed away the few nights before. And she said, but those few months that you worked with him and up until he just passed away were the happiest years that he's had in the last decade. And it meant more to him to be able to walk around his home than anything else, because he could get up, he could go visit with his family, his grandchildren and everything. And that meant the world to me. And so there's so many stories like that happen every single day. It's my pleasure that I get to share that with people and help people understand, like, when you surround yourself with greatness and with people who want the best for you, that will happen, right? And we all want to have the rights for, being able to receive blessings and talk about, getting and getting and getting, but the responsibility lies with ourselves. And Conrad, he hit that right on the nose, right? He says, with rights come responsibilities. We got to take the responsibility for ourselves, and what we want to do with it. And once we start to look at how can I give more, because that's probably one of my most favorite books on earth is the go-giver, which it was just fantastic. We get so much more when we give, and giving ourselves permission to live a life that we want is key. So
That is so amazing. That and you know a little insider information for you guys out there that aren't in the medical field. And I hate to say this, but it's just true. Your doctor is in a better position giving you bad news than giving you good news. People don't sue doctors for giving them good news. Man, I'm going to sue you. You told me I was going to be dead in 3 months, and here I'm still alive a year later. You know, how dare you? So, doctors are going to give you bad news. Doctors are going to say, here's your limits. You should listen to your doctor's medical advice. You should not listen to your doctor's fortune telling. I've seen so many doctors that say you can't do this and you'll be unable to do that, blah, blah, blah. If you are going to listen to that, view it as a challenge. You know, you need to develop the Mufasa mindset. You know, is that a challenge? And then go get them. You know, and then go do it. And so that's exactly what my father-in-law did. Is they said he couldn't do something, and he was ambulatory, that is, walking under his own steam, until maybe a month prior to his death. And everybody said he couldn't do it, but he did it. And I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. Me and my wife would sit right here, you know, or stand in this room. This is my kitchen, by the way. It's not a AI backdrop. There's my coffee pot back there. And so we would have many conversations about what are we going to do. But he toughed it out. And here's another thing for you guys is, and I've said this before too, the more you catastrophize the harder things in life, the more difficult the easier things in life are going to become. So the more you embrace the hard things in life, then the easier those things will become. Not without effort, not without complete ease, just easier. You know, just easier. And so it does take a lot of grit, a lot of determination, and that takes community. Find people that tell you you can instead of people that tell you you can't. Go out there and find people that support you grunting and groaning, that don't catastrophize. Oh, you poor baby. Oh, don't exert yourself. Goodness gracious, social media is so full of that crap. People saying, oh my goodness, you know, I've just exerted myself way too much today. I vacuumed my kitchen and I should have only vacuumed half of my kitchen or something, you know. Yeah, you should know your limits. But I'll tell you a quick story about that before we go back to Aja and get his take on it in his community. And I was telling my son this here, I think, over the last week. But many years ago, instead of having a standard powerlifting competition where it's just, you know, guys trying to outlift each other, we decided that we would have a different kind of a powerlifting contest. We would come into the gym and in good faith, no holding back, we would do a baseline. We did a baseline on a deadlift, and it had to be all you could do. We did a baseline on bench press and a baseline on squat. The three big lifts. And what you lift is what you lifted. The winner is the one that percentage-wise increased the weight of those three lifts. And then we worked out for 90 days. I didn't win the contest, by the way. I came in second. But at any rate, I was training for this contest on the deadlift, and I told my friend, he said, man, you've been lifting, and I can't do it now. It's been many years ago. But he said, you've been pulling 600 pounds. I think you can do more. I said, nah, I don't. I think it was 605 or something like that. He said, man, just put another 30 pounds. I said, crap, man, you're out of your freaking mind. I'm barely pulling whatever it was, 605 or whatever it was. I can't do 635. I said, I'm going to go to the bathroom, come back, and, do the 605 or whatever it was. And I was right. I barely got it up. Barely got it up. And I mean, no hitching. That's where you pull it part of the way and you rest it on your thighs, and then you pull it and you rest it. And in competition, the judges look for this. So if they see some downward motion of the bar, you're done. That lift is no good. So it has to be a competition style lift. And so I pulled the whatever it was 605, and I said, I'm so glad you didn't, I didn't take your advice. I would have never done it. And he said, are you sure about that? I said, no, I'm pretty sure. He said, look at the bar. While I went to the bathroom, he'd added 30 pounds. I didn't know he added 30 pounds, but I looked, holy crap, he added 30 pounds. I thought I was lifting 30 pounds less, but I still did it. You are capable of lifting more in life than you could have ever imagined if you'll surround yourself by people that do not baby you, or these people are not doing you a favor. Oh, poor baby, that it's so hard, it's so terrible. Don't you need a break? To heck with all that stuff. Surround yourself by a community that challenges you, that calls your hand on things. Give them permission to call your hand on things. As soon as this space is over, this live stream is over here in 18 minutes, by the way. So drop your thoughts in the chat. We'd love to hear from you. I'm going to ask my friends here, what could I have done better? What went well? Because I want the, positive reinforcement. I'll say, tell me, something that you thought went well, but then tell me something that I could have done better. Give people permission. We punish people. You see so many people punishing people. How dare you tell me how to improve myself? I thought you were my friend, and you're here telling me how to improve myself. No, I know you don't say that, but that's the way you view criticism. One component of a healthy community is that they just don't pee on your leg and tell you it's raining. In my part of the woods, they don't blow smoke up your rear end. I don't know where that came from. That's kind of a weird picture. I've never seen anybody do that. It'd be disturbing. I'm sure somebody's done it and posted it on social media. I don't want to see that stuff. But give people permission to tell you the truth about your behavior, not just all of this namby-pamby, Pollyannish bullcrap. Get people around you that challenge you and tell you how you can improve. And Sherry nailed it. Yes, Sherry, I love that. And there is a way of doing that, and if you want to try this out, say it this way. Look, I really love how you're doing this. Here are 3 things that I appreciate about what you're doing. Here, would you like to hear something that you could that might make it better? Here are 3 things, and you got to pay attention if you're going to be good at this. Here are 3 things that you're doing well. Would you like some feedback on something that could improve it? And ask for that permission to share that information. Waylon says, Waylon's such a joker. Waylon's here with his beard today. Waylon's got a killer beard. We could have we have 4 bearded guys here today. Me and Oz are kind of the standouts, but we could have a beard off, a beard contest. I think Waylon would have everybody beat, though. Waylon says, I don't know how to surround myself. Is force involved? I just read that. I should probably read those things before I put them up on the big screen there. But yeah, Waylon, thank you very much. Richard, my dear friend Richard, so supportive of my space, says, walking after my spine surgery, as soon as I could get my balance, IV bag on the pole, walking. Yes, sir. Absolutely. If you go in for orthopedic surgery, you go in for a knee replacement or something, do you know how long they let you lay around a bed before they drag your butt out of bed and put you to work? How long did they give you, Dr. Corey?
Not long at all. I've had people
hours.
Yeah.
Sometimes hours. You know why? Because mobility equals healing. Challenging yourself equals healing. The worst thing you can do when you've had some type of orthopedic surgery is to sit around and hyper focus and ruminate on the discomfort. A quick thing for those of you that have undergone some of this stuff. Pain can be learned. Look it up. Fact check me on it. If you set your brain stores memories, one of those memories is of the experience of pain. Uh, think of your favorite dessert. Are you thinking about it? Mine, well, I have many, too many, but one of mine is chocolate meringue pie. Oh, I can taste it right now. Can you? Chocolate meringue pie. Some people like red velvet. Oh, what's wrong with Joshua? He's like a chocolate meringue pie communist or something, you know? Yeah,
I'm not a meringue person.
Oh my word, man! I learned how to make meringue when I was probably 13, 14 years old. I would literally whip it up and just eat the meringue like I was eating pudding or something. I'm a meringueaholic. I'm a
Ah,
meringueaholic. I don't know what's wrong with Josh. I don't know. I don't know why did I invite him today. Yeah, I got to start vetting people better. But that's one of my favorite desserts. You guys, you got the dessert in your mind. Can you almost taste it? See, that's a memory. Your brain also has a taste for pain. It knows how pain tastes in your brain. It remembers that. And then if you hyper focus on the discomfort in your knee, your shoulder, whatever, your brain is literally not actually responding to the physiology. It's responding to the psychology of the memory of that pain overlaying it, and you think it is the injury or the surgery hurting. No, no, not so fast, not so fast. It may be just that memory of pain that you're competing against. The cure for that: move, move, move. Keep on moving. Focus on the movement, not the sensation. Be careful. When I'm in the gym, this is probably my 40th year in the gym or something like that. I'll have guys lifting big, they're lifting sloppy. I'll walk by and I say, "Would you like a tip?" It's amazing, guys in the gyms often they don't want a tip. I'll say, "I'm very impressed that you young guys are in here. I'll be more impressed if you can be back in here 10 years, 20 years later." And so, yes, be very, very careful. Lift with great form, move with great form. Watch yourself walking if you have stability or ambulation problems, but by all means, do move. Let me switch it just a bit. We only have about 12 minutes left, and I'd like to kind of finish it up here talking about some top tips these guys have found about developing your own circle. And I'll tell you one of mine. What do you think, Aja? How'd you start developing your circle to boost your success? What do you think?
All right, thank you. It's really an amazing conversation here. I must say, from all the all speakers and Dr. Corey and Conrad and Joshua, big ups to you guys. Thank you for a wonderful talk. I must say, I used to have this conversation with my mom where she usually says that there's no I cannot in her dictionary, and every time it always, I always feel, yeah, she was spot on. Like when I began growing and then began seeing another aspect of life where a lot of people, disbelieve themselves. They don't see anything that can come good out of them, and what they are capable of doing. And at each point, it's very, very difficult to relate with that because saying you can't do it, it's not an option because there's always possibility in life in what everybody can achieve, and you cannot box your mind, without having the further consequences at the end of the day. So what do? You need to work on your mind. You need to have that positive energy that you can do anything you want to achieve. So one of the ways that really inspired us in my community, by the way, big shout out to support system, that really inspired us is that we tend to analyze each and every one of us, in our group in the sense that we don't look down on ourselves. And how do we do this? We always encourage one another. If we see you are good at what you are doing, we go there to support you. We have a lot of amazing space hosts and also people who write a lot too, amazing content writers. We go there, support them whenever they drop their posts. If they are hosting a space, we go there, cheer them up. And the vibe have been ongoing. And I must say, there's one thing that you alone you are winning, and there's another aspect. of life where you replicate this thing among yourselves, where you are not just the only person winning, you have other persons too, winning and then also coming to celebrate the success that you are also participating in. So with the little achievements, we gather ourselves, see how we can train ourselves, develop ourselves. If this person having like a mind breakdown, we'll go there and then we speak to the person. What's really happening with you? We have not been seeing you showing up, and how can we, support you in the little way we can? I believe a lot of people are actually, that we have on X are really introverts, people who do not know how to express themselves that's physically. So we create forums where one or two ideas can be shared, where each and everyone being able to relate with themselves, and generally in life, um, the environment people grow is very very important in the sense that this environment is shaped who you are going to be in the nearest future. And it's quite unfortunate that we don't have systems that can be able to give render the support to people. That's why I'm really appreciative for Dr. Keith, for hosting this space. I mean, just imagine the level of feedback and also the compliments we are getting. This shows how people really need these things. People really need to learn how to work on themselves. And of course, if you have an unproductive life, then indeed you are not going to have a flourishing life. Why? Because you need a productive life where everything around you, is perfect. Although we can't be perfect, but we can always try to become perfect. Yeah, and I believe that there's no impossibility with what anybody can do. And for everybody listening, I don't want you to limit yourself by your environment, by what people have said. I mean, I've been rejected several times. We don't really have the time to go into details for it right now. But then we have all faced our own measure of rejection. And there's this should I say proverb or analogy that I usually use to encourage myself. They said, if you think your house is very far, just take a look at your back, and then you will discover there are a lot of houses, beyond you which are very, very far than your own. So that is really what I have to say. And thank you very much for all the whole listeners. And I'm seeing the amazing comments. You guys are really awesome in this place. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Aja. I really appreciate you. And we have a bit of well words, well spoken, great words, well spoken. We actually do have a bit of a meringue kerfuffle going on in the chat. Unfortunately, I have to say that Rusty Tillery is here. I do not follow Rusty's account. He is a purveyor of fake meringue news, as is Joshua. Don't listen to these guys. When it comes to dessert, they don't know what they're talking about. This is fake news. But I do agree with, yeah. So Monette has launched a challenge. All you anti-meringue people, it's actually Cash. I think to be accurate, it's from the Dr. Phil show. The young lady, Cash Me Outside. So Monette is gonna give a whooping to all of those anti-meringue fake news people, including Rusty. So I think that you guys are going to need to bring more help if you're going to have a meringue fight with Monette. It's the Monette meringue fight. But so I would probably just go ahead and surrender right now. Good to see you guys here today. We're going to wrap it up here in a few minutes. If you have any other comments, go ahead and other than making fun of meringue. Sherry, I don't like meringue either unless it's lemon. Sherry, it's so disappointing. It really is. I thought we were friends, and it's just so. This is not the way to start the day, making fun of meringue. Christelle is here. It's great to see you too, Christelle. Let's finish it up with some final comments, guys. I have a brief story to share with you, but Joshua, other than the misinformation about meringue, the meringue misinformation, what would you have to share with people on mindset and community, the power of community?
I got a perfect one, Doc. I'll wrap up with this for me. I saw Monette had made a rather cute comment there saying, "Is this our first fight, brother?" Because clearly she is on the wrong team here. And but my brother Rusty's in there. I know I'm not alone, and Sherry's in there. There's a few of us that understand the truth. Anyway, that aside, I strongly suggest when Manette mentioned, "Is this our first fight, brother?" It reminded me of something not that long ago, and I won't go into detail or anything. But Manette's a grown woman and a good friend, and she can. I think she would approve of this share. Uh, she and I, as well as some other people, happen to be in some DM groups that are included with also moderation of a few different things, and Monette and I actually had done a few things back channel several times, getting ready for various spaces with our church spaces group. Along the way, as things can happen with spiritual discussions and such, sometimes people have disagreements and they can be sharp, and because they can touch on things that are very important to you. One of the most important things you can do in forming that circle of friends is find people uh, who can be forgiving with each other. um, I had a disagreement with Monette actually, and it's funny that she's being a bit coy, but the truth is, I actually did have a disagreement not that long ago, to the point that I was upset enough that I felt like, well, I should put some distance between. I think I should just not be involved with this discussion then, because blah blah blah. I was just butthurt, is the truth. But incredibly, her Rusty was in this group, and another friend of ours. Uh, they all saw me have my brief little moment, and every one of them has forgiven me quite easily. Every one of them has still made sure to check on me to say, "Hey, were you okay with this?" Things like that, little quick reach outs and stuff. And I realized, like, oh, they're really like, it takes just that little moment, just that little reach out. I was like, oh gosh, how foolish am I? I was just upset, and just like that, my circle helped reorient my perspective and my entire mood with just being forgiving, which is supposed to be a natural part of friendship anyway. So find people in for your circle, folks, that can afford you a little forgiveness, because that's going to be necessary for having a solid foundation around you of people that don't just prop you up, but when they form those constructive criticisms, which are going to be necessary, it's easier to still take that in. Even when it hurts in the moment, you can still sit and really ruminate on it and really absorb it when you know it's coming from someone who really does care about you. And for me, I see that in the way that a person forgives. And I'm no different. Like I said, from anybody else, this story didn't start with me being the forgiving guy. I was the one that needed forgiveness. But thank God I have friends that I've found and over time formed relationships with, to the point that we have not just an honesty, but I have allowed them to have a place in my heart and mind that I respect and listen to, even when I'm upset. So that's just such an important thing to find in your group, folks. So that's just my little quick thoughts here
Joshua,
at the end.
it really is. It really is. It's a way of understanding for those of you who are believers out there. It's a way of understanding, um, well, God, how God thinks. It kind of gets you into the mind of God. How is it that God forgives us? And here is something that really changed my life: is I will forgive people if they're, and I will say this carefully because I don't want folks getting this wrong. I will forgive people if there's a reason to forgive people, but there's not always a reason to forgive people because I didn't take it as an offense in the first place. The forgiveness was way far in advance of, it was proactive, it was way far in advance of anything that you did. My wife, forgive her, what, of what? Of being human? If you struggle with something, why you need my forgiveness to be human? We might agree that what you said was naughty, but I didn't take it as an offense to begin with. So your power in a community begins with how you decide to think of the community and the other people in the community. The people that really need to forgive the most, and it is a need that you have. People don't have a need to be forgiven as much as you have a need to forgive if forgiveness is needed. But forgiveness is only needed when you take offense at something that's done. Otherwise, it's just somebody making a mistake, being human, that kind of thing. And so I just tend not to hold things against people. My business partner taught me this. He and another friend of mine, Dominic. Dominic, one time, some of you guys know he had his own TV show. You can look it up. It was on, what was it called? Investigative Discovery. The show was called Hostage Do or Die. Great guy, wonderful friend of mine. But Dominic, unfortunately, at one of our hostage negotiations conferences, I was told that he couldn't make it because he was sick. And I thought, oh, I thought he had the flu or something. And it was much worse than that. As we came to know, he had throat cancer. And in the meantime, in the interim, another friend of ours had done something that was arguably improper, and he flew to California to apologize to Dominic as he lay dying in a hospital bed. So if you want to put that in perspective, hear Dominic's words. None of that matters now. All that stuff, that nonsense, those little spats you have with your spouse, with your kids, with your friends, with your community, as much as you think it matters now, it just won't. When someone's on their deathbed or you're on your deathbed, that'll be the least of all the things that matter. And so it was with my father-in-law as we had his funeral the other day. My father-in-law and I have been in each other's lives for half a century. Half a century. That's a long time to, let go of somebody. But we're like a couple of old billy goats. And man, everybody loved and respected my father-in-law, and I did too. No one butted heads with my father-in-law, but I did. And we were like billy goats. He was not used to that. And so it was my mission in life to make him used to that. I just don't back down. It's just me. I probably should more than I do, but man, I'm just a billy goat. But none of that matters. None of that matters. I loved him and still love him and miss him greatly. And he was a huge voice, a huge strength in my life. But at the end of life, you'll look back like I have so many times and see none of that stuff that I thought was such a big deal in the community and the friendship and relationship mattered. And you know what, guys? The sooner you figure that out, the healthier you will be. You don't have to hold on to that stuff. You don't have to. You can just let it go. One of my favorite quotes: if you can't let it go, at least let it be. So one or the other, let it go or let it be. If the brain doesn't really forget about things too easily, that would be bad. If I tell patients, they'll say, "Can you help me forget about this?" Absolutely. I've had this trauma. Can you help me forget about it? Yes. How long will that take? I don't know. 2 minutes. I can help you forget about it in 2 minutes. I have to go to my garage and get my 3-pound hammer with which I'll whack you in the head. Then you'll forget all kinds of things. But the human brain was not made to just be able to forget about things. It was engineered for us to have the ability to make meaning of things. What am I going to decide my headbutting with my father-in-law meant? Well, it meant that this is what made it successful. He was a state championship basketball coach. He was one of the most well-loved principals in the area who a couple times left polka dots on my rear end. Why? Well, because in those days, you do something naughty in school, you got a paddling. And he had drilled holes in his paddle to reduce wind resistance, so the more harder to paddle. And I don't know, I turned out okay, as well as all those other students that received a paddling from Mr. Snellgrove. And so all those little tidbits of things, learn to make meaning of those, and meaning will not come to you enveloped in the experience itself. The experience in your community, your experience with a person, my experience with Joshua, Conrad, Aja, Dr. Corey, comes as an empty box into which I insert meaning. You get to decide the meaning that your community holds for you. And if you're not being fed or nurtured in the community, one of the things you might want to do, and this starts out at a different end that we began the show today, it may just be you. It may be you that aren't engaging properly. It may be you that is not inserting meaning into that experience. It may be you that is getting, and not giving. So let's wrap up here. Let's see. I think Conrad, Dr. Corey, take it away, Conrad. Then we'll wrap it up with Dr. Corey. Some parting comments to fuel these folks. Nearly 900 of them right now, about a little over 700 on X, and then other platforms. But to leave them with to kind of get them revved up for the week ahead.
Well, I would invite people to, even today, straight away, right? Find yourself one community where you can give a lot. And I mean, everybody has got something to give, whether it's wisdom, experience, skill, doesn't matter, right? But we can do that in this great, ocean of communities online and offline. We can find one community where we can give a lot. And for balance and self-care, I'm also inviting you to find yourself one community where you are willing to indulge. Maybe it's about your hobby. Maybe it's about something that you're passionate about. But this is where you just allow yourself to sit back, maybe take, maybe contribute. It nearly doesn't matter. But at the same time, yes, there is a certain focus on giving, because you can. And there is also that self-nourishment, so that it doesn't feel resentful, so that you don't feel that you are just that giver who gives and doesn't get back, because that can also be unhealthy. In a way, life shows that the middle way very often is the easiest one to actually be successful with. Any extreme can only be maintained for a moment. It really is difficult to maintain an extreme in any shape or form. But that middle way is usually that thing that brings back the balance in life. And we already had some of the comments here being shown on the screen, right? Where giving is great, but at the same time, it very much is about that healthy self-nourishment, about good boundaries, about taking care of ourselves so that we do not burn out, so that we do not feel that we just give, and we are not nourished back. And that, again, ironically, is a thing of mindset. Where are those patterns? If we feel unnourished, if we feel that we aren't getting things from the community or otherwise, where is this pattern stemming from? What is it within that we are withholding that love and nourishment from ourselves in the end? Because there's going to be something. And whether it's exactly as Sherry is saying, boundaries, whether it's something else, where is this lack of balance that we are creating ourselves? Because we are talking here about radical and constructive responsibility and honesty. We are manifesting every single second of this experience. We are presending our future until it becomes our present moment. Present. Present. So we are presenting every single second of our existence. And if you wish to experience balance in life, then I am inviting you, my friend, to do exactly that. To create that balance in your life, whatever it might mean to you, you have everything that you want and need in order to create the life that you want. It's doable, it's accessible, and if you choose that, you can find a way to make it happen. And I'm inviting you to do just that. Thank you.
Conrad, thank you. And I want to go finish it up here with Dr. C, but we have more fake news from Rusty. Rusty is going on about the problems with meringue, but I agree, Conrad, have to give, not just take from a community. Yes, that's right. When in a meringue community eat the meringue, do as the Merengians do. That sounds like a Star Trek character, the Merengians, and learn to enjoy the meringue. You know, maybe it's an acquired taste. Maybe it's an acquired taste. So I don't know. I'm just kind of shocked. I really have never met someone that didn't like meringue. I didn't know you guys existed. I would guess that you're go extinct soon. There's probably very few of you, but good to see you here, Rusty. Good to see you here, Sherry. And Dr. C, wrap us up. I have a question for you. Sherry says, meringuetang's. Yeah, that's awesome. Meringuetang's. Yeah, I am a proud meringuetangian. There you go. Okay, Dr. C, I'd like to finish it up with you asking a more specific question. What is one of the most important things you've seen happen in recovery in your years in physical therapy and just PTOTST, physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, the thing that helps the most when it comes to maybe engaging in a community?
Yeah, that's a great question. I do have a thought that I want to share with Joshua because he was talking about friends. That reminded me of a quote from Dr. Wayne Dyer that said, "Friends are God's way of apologizing for your family." Right, and so it gives us such a great way to look at how we select our friends and how we bring them into our life. But that actually goes in to answer your question right there. What's the number one thing that people can do to really have the most positive outcome? Well, first of all, it comes down to yourself. Like, how do you look at yourself? How do you feel about yourself? And what is it that you want to see for your future? And that's the really to the root of everything. When I get down to it, when this is all said and done, I can't give you anything more than you're willing to accept and more than what you're willing to do for yourself. Now, if you are willing to go the distance, I'm going to walk that distance with you. I will give you everything that I've got to help you see that through, and I will use my skill set to show you the path. But it has to be you that wants to get there. I can't do it for you. The doctor's not going to be able to do it for you. Your wife or your kids, they're not going to do it for you. You have to be able to look yourself in the mirror every single day and say, why am I doing this? And do you really feel it? Not just utter out those words and say, I'm doing this because of A, B, and C. Like, you get personal with it, get that feeling, get that heart wrenching like motivation inside you. Feel that emotion. And once you start to feel that emotion and you've aligned that part of you up with where your goals are, now we can start to make miracles happen. And that's when they'll come to me at the end of their sessions, then their plan of care, and they're like, thank you so much for everything that you've done. I couldn't do this without you. I said, I didn't do a thing. It wasn't me. It was you. You got to see that. Like, I tried to get myself as far away from the point that's like, well, this is what I did versus like, this is what you did. Now you know what to do moving forward. Now, we do, as human beings, we forget. We forget how to keep things going, and sometimes we get life going in a perfect, or we feel we're on a good path, and then we change something that might be small and insignificant at the moment, which will have big impacts in their future. I say, if you forget those moments, it's not a bad thing to come back and reach out. And when you have a community like that, if you find that you're off track, ask them, what's changed? What have I been doing differently in the last little bit? And be open to that feedback. Don't take offense, because they'll be able to bring something to your awareness that you may have like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that I stopped doing that. And that's often with therapy when people come back to see me and it's the same issue. It's not that they've re-injured or they've drastically had a different outcome. They forgot one or two simple things that if we applied and got back into the routine, back into the habits, that they comes back and they get back to doing what they want. The pain goes away, that they're fine. And so my job is to, again, bring awareness to their power, their ability to change their lives and create that life for them.
I love that, and well said, everyone here today. You guys are awesome. Such great comments here. Bravo, Dr. Corey Conrad and Aja from Rusty Tillery. Great to have all you guys here watching. But let me just finish up with a story that I mentioned when we first got started. And it is a story of my father in law's funeral. We had, I think the funeral home said that they gave out over 500 funeral brochures to visitors. Why would over 500 people attend my father in law's funerals? Because he gave them a reason to do so. Whatever community that you're in, why would they stop to notice your absence? Why would they stop to notice? Why would they attend your funeral? Give people a reason to attend your funeral in the way of everything that you've given to them over the years. And what we heard this weekend, the funeral was on Saturday. What we heard this weekend was story after story after story, things that even I didn't know, of how Mr. George, Mr. Snellgrove, gave to people. And he never talked about it. He never bragged about it. He didn't do any flag waving. Just a simple man that gave every day of his life to kids as a principal. And let me tell you, I was terrified of him when I was a kid in high school. Man, he was like 10 foot tall and bulletproof, and I was scared to death of him. But the one thing that we all always knew is that he cared about us. He would take and grab you right here on this trapezius muscle on the trap and squeeze it, and you just kind of, shrink. And but in that touch, you knew that he cared about you. Give your community information so that they know not that you care about them. When you join a community, don't join it to get, as Conrad would say, join it to give. Join it to give. Thank you guys so much for being here. And Monette, I really appreciate you, such a valuable member of the community, such a great supporter. And Sherry, thank you so much. Wow, 100% best space on the platform. So glad I found you guys. Thank you so much, Sherry, for the great compliment. And thank everybody. Go out and share. This is recorded, so you can share the link to folks. We have nearly 1,000 people here right now. Thank you guys sincerely for giving us your time and spending this morning to get the week started off right. We're back every Monday at 7 a.m. Memphis time. That is Central Standard Time in the U.S. And Najman, glad that you're feeling better, and it's good to see you here also. God bless everyone, she says. And thank you, Rusty. I guess given the compliment there, I'll forgive you for your anti-meringue stance, all the fake news about meringue. Rusty says, great story and perspective also. Guys, have a great week. We'll catch you next time. We're going to be back today actually in about 3 hours and 12 minutes for Midday Mindset. That's just an audio show I do every day, 12 o'clock for 1 hour. I try to keep it to 1 hour from 12 to 1 Monday through Friday. And then on Saturdays, I do a 12 o'clock space on X about self-esteem, self-improvement, mindset, supporting people, learning how to speak publicly, and to share your thoughts, because we need your perspective. If you're here listening, you have heard the wonderful perspective of these gentlemen, but you have a perspective too. You need to learn how to share it. Someone in the world today, what you can give them is the gift of another way of thinking. So many people in our world today could benefit from a new, improved, higher level of thinking. Go out there, share it with folks, and we'll catch you next time. Have a good day. Bye-bye now.